Hello and welcome to Founders Amplified, where we spotlight underrepresented founders who are driving innovation and impact across various industries and sectors across the globe. I'm your host, Narayan Kulkarni, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Today's guest is Lavinia Roma. Lavinia Roma is the founder and CEO of Wellmatch. Originally from Rome, Italy, and now based in London, UK, Lavinia identifies as a female founder, immigrant, and ex-athlete who believes deeply in wellness as a form of preventative care. She holds an MSc in International Health Management from Imperial College Business School and a BSc Honors in Investment and Financial Risk Management from Cass Business School. Her startup, Wellmatch, helps employers improve workforce well-being, retention, and performance through tech-enabled preventative wellness programs powered by real-time analytics and measurable outcomes. The company's mission is to enable organizations to measure and maximize positive outcomes from investing in employee well-being, tackling key challenges in human capital management with actionable insight and strategic alignment. So, now that you know a little bit about Lavinia, let's dive in to the conversation. Welcome to Founders Amplified, Lavinia. Great to have you with us. How are you doing today?
Hi, Narayan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. Had a nice weekend. Went for a long 12K yesterday, so happy and recharged.
Amazing. Glad to hear. Great to hear you're doing wellness related things. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I know, in our conversation. But let's get started. The first thing I'd like to ask you is, I'd love to hear a bit more about your journey. So could you tell us about what led you to become a founder and if there were any particular experiences or moments that sparked that decision?
Thank you so much, Narayan. Yes, well, I started my career in financial services and specifically at Moody's. Very busy corporate job. Loved it, but at the same time, I always had a huge passion for health and wellness. I'm an ex-athlete, and I think that's kind of a big defining factor. I also have two parents whom I love, but unfortunately, they both suffer from diabetes and other health issues. So I went in and out of hospital with them quite a bit. And I saw really how healthcare is too late and how wellness as a means for prevention for me is key towards long-term population health management. So I think these two factors combined are the biggest drivers behind, my passion for wellness and wellness technology.
Wow, thanks for sharing. I'd like to dive a little bit deeper onto, I heard you talking about your experiences as an ex-athlete, having parents with health conditions. It sounds like there are a lot of elements of your story that give you a unique perspective on what it means to be a founder in where you work. Can you tell us a little bit more about parts of your identity or story that inform your experience in a creative way with Wellmatch? And those can be
Absolutely.
personal, professional, however you define that.
Absolutely. I think so. First of all, coming from, I'm Italian by background, and there's a lot in my culture about, being healthy, eating healthy and making sure that, you're also mentally healthy, spending time with your family. There's a lot of that compared to other countries. So I think that's a big, big differentiator in terms of like my personal culture. Secondly, I always had a huge passion for sports. It was always my lifeline. So whether it was athletics, before that I was doing horse riding, I practiced yoga for 15 plus years, and have always had a big passion for running. And for me, it's always been my outlet and also my kind of my discipline, what keeps me on track. I suffer also from OCD, very severe OCD, very specific. And because of that, I tend to be an overthinker. I tend to be anxious, and I need kind of like a structure and a box that helps me, like in a routine that I built made of like little things daily that helps me like stay on track and stay mentally well. And I started investing into myself as a means of like this self-discipline, but also like self-love, whether it's, my same breakfast every day and my green juice in on an empty stomach in the morning, or making sure that regardless of like how overwhelmed I am, I take 5 minutes to even just stretch or exercise in the morning, or I do something for myself, whether it's skincare or anything. It's those little rituals that, regardless of how much I'm working, even if it's a 16-hour day, keep me kind of like focused and well, and allow me to stay on like the right path, instead of like spiraling into these kind of like tunnels that, for example, are very typical to OCD, where you start like overthinking, over concentrating, over focusing, over doubting everything. And I think for me that framework was is really important.
Wow, thank you so much. I just I really appreciate how you've talked about how different elements of, say, family context as well as other experiences, and how all of those collectively inform what sounds like a wellness practice in your personal life, in addition to that
Yeah.
informing your, like, the work you do professionally. And something which you mentioned earlier, which I, and also in this answer, which I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into, is relating to well match. So for, as the audience will probably know, you'll see in the show notes and you'll hear in the intro, well match focuses on workforce wellness, but it specifically has a preventive care, population health, inclusion type of focus. Can you
Yeah.
tell me more about what inspired you to take that focus of inclusion, preventive care, that lens, into workforce wellness through what you do at Wellmatch?
Yeah, so for example, when I was at Moody's, we didn't have a lot of like well-being offering, and what we did have was, for example, let's say workshops once in a blue moon, which were like at lunchtime, and it's I just always felt it was completely disaligned with how the workplace works, and also it wasn't things that I would be interested in participating in terms of like topics, or I didn't feel that they were made for me. I didn't feel they were tailored to me, and at that time, for example, I was paying for my own therapy, and I was like running out of work at 7:30 p.m. to go and do my session once per week, on call all the way there in Uber, and then going back, logging back in. And and then I was traveling a lot, and I was feeling like very often like very lonely, and I felt like there was not a lot of support in that sense. So I just felt I spoke to my colleagues, and I just saw all of us were going through different moments in our life, whether it was some women coming back to work after giving birth and finding their spot had been taken by someone, and they were staffed on some kind of meaningless project, and they would have to wait for their promotion would get delayed for years because they had to take that time off. Or someone who has was going through grief because of a family member dying, and they had to process it, was like putting up a big face at work and a brave face at work. Financial health worries, like all of many many different bits and pieces. And I just felt there must be a way that employers can give their employee demographic something which is meaningful to them, and it's tailored to their evolving needs throughout their life cycle within the company. And I also feel that when we had initiatives that made us feel, for example, we had some charity initiatives and like group charity initiatives where, teams would go. For example, we painted orphanage classroom. And I felt that those moments where like you were giving employees something that was beyond like the classic training were really like the best moments where you were feeling like, okay, like there's a 360-degree aspect towards personal development. And it's not just about, performing at work, but that did drive, performance at work, because then you feel more complete, you feel more aligned, you feel like your organization knows you, is taking care of you. And I, through WellMatch, we started on the D2C market, connecting freelance wellness providers to clients. And we realized that, that human touch, that personal touch is so important. And that there's such a big variety of wellness practices. And I'm really shocked because sometimes I get some profiles, which today I came across a lady that does yoga for laughter. And it's like through like yoga, there's like this laughter therapy, and everybody has and all of the wellness providers I've worked with have a very unique angle and something unique they can bring to the table. And that might be somebody's piece of cake, somebody else is not, but it's important to give people the choice to find the right practice for them that really means something throughout their life at that certain point in time.
Well said. I especially appreciate the point you made about wellness being a personal thing, and how
Yeah,
that is something that best empowers one, but also, to a point you made earlier, it does have organizational implications for performance, results,
absolutely.
etc. One thing I'd like to learn more about. So you talked about kind of how WellMatch approaches this in terms of its mindset, but in terms of the design in what you do, the way you have approached the business model, and in those
Mhm.
ways, or anything else when it comes to your mindset, etc. What's something about how you do work in wellness at WellMatch that Other people would look at it and say, oh, that's interesting. I've never thought about that. That's cool.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nadia. And actually, I think we have a very unique outlook in terms of like how we see the market because we understand that there's multiple stakeholders. So there's, employers, there's employees, there's HR managers who have to manage the programs, whether it's a HR manager, well-being lead, CHRO, CPO, and then there's corporate wellness providers. And all of these parties have different interests. And I feel like what we've seen through our research and through competitor analysis and actually delivering workshops ourselves, the likes of Moody's, ADI, and PwC, is that there's a fragmentation when it comes to aligning the interests of all of these parties. And only by a solution that kind of like ticks all the boxes and makes everybody happy and kind of realigns the direction, then you can really deliver something of value. So when it comes to employees, obviously it's very easy there. They want to feel healthier, happier, but also they want to feel understood by their employer. They don't want benefits forced on them, and they want something that is tailored, personalized, evolves with their needs, and is democratically chosen and demographically adjusted, and dynamically evolves with their journey throughout the company. Whether they're staying there for 10 years, on the first year, their needs and wants will be completely different compared to the 10th year. Then when it comes to HR managers and whoever is in charge of the well-being programs, HR is super understaffed, often overlooked, and they have to deal with a lot. And often, even in terms of budget, etc., they don't really have a way to show their performance, or it's very difficult for them to quantify their performance as being back office. Whereas, let's say for a trader, it would be super easy. It's linked to direct financial returns, or a sales manager, same direct financial returns. Whereas HR has a huge impact, but at the same time, it's very difficult for them to quantify the impact and also like pinpoint the direction of the impact. So by Well Match, we give them a tool which has AI powered analytics and predictability features, which really dives into okay, what is driving the performance of your company. So for example, let's say there's a team who has had a big churn. Why is that churn happening? Is it because they're overwhelmed? Is it because it's understaffed? Is it because the manager is not doing a great job at motivating the team? Is it because the projects they're working on are too tough or the clients are rude? And by like digging into self-reported metrics by employees and combining them with quantitative metrics, so for example, number of sick days, number of healthcare claims, number of resignations, number of HR reports, number of, for example, um, interviews that they had to conduct in that month to hire new candidates, you can really understand what are the performance drivers. And these allow, in turn, for HR to showcase insights that are valuable to their managers and to the business leaders and to the C-suite, which help them make a case for, okay, by investing into well-being initiatives, not only are your employees healthier and happier, but also your business is performing better in terms of driving revenue and cutting costs. And this realigns with the interest of, the major stakeholder or the buyer, if you want to put it here, which is obviously the corporate employer. They spend a lot of money on different initiatives without really being able to understand often what is the ROI on the initiatives. And often they end up paying for well-being programs, which are not engaging with employees, and there's not a lot of participation. So the money they're spending is not really going anywhere meaningful. So if they have a tool to quantify and also direct their choices, this is something that obviously will enable efficiencies when it comes to spend, but also helps them understand what their employees actually want. And this can be applied to a number of initiatives, even outside well-being. And then finally, we have wellness providers who really want to access corporate revenue streams because it gives them stability of income. But at the same time, it's very difficult for them to do that. So as solo, traders, because they're small vendors, and to get into a corporate procurement process is super complicated, often overwhelming for them. They don't have the right network, they don't know who to approach, and it's very difficult to make that sale. We have designed a tool that and kind of like a network, a community which embraces all of these different pain points and tries to solve them by technology. And we are a technology company, but with humans, and we see people and workforce as the most risky, the most expensive, but also the most powerful asset that companies have. And also for us, it's a thing of like long-term population health management because healthcare systems have failed us so much. And also it's the healthcare system is overburdened, there's not enough being done towards spending in prevention because it doesn't win elections. But for companies, actually, they can see the result of spending in prevention immediately by less healthcare costs, by people actually coming into work, not having to pay sick leave. So employers, I think, are much more motivated and aligned with like these long-term population health goals than, systems themselves.
Wow. Think that you shared so many amazing insights there. I really appreciate that. One thing, there are two things that really stuck out to me as you shared. First of all, was how you are connecting many different stakeholders into the puzzle in trying to improve employee health in the short term and then population health in the meso and the long term. The second thing that really struck me was, as you mentioned, it's difficult for wellness providers to often get the ability to connect with and like have people who will pay for their services. And so the second one is kind of the pretext for my next question, which is, can you tell us more about how you engage wellness providers with employees and make sure A, it's a good fit, and B, that like employees have like the wellness providers that will really meet their holistic needs. Because as you talked about, wellness is a multidimensional concept, and it's not just physical health or mental health, but can mean many other things.
Absolutely. So the way we work is that we have two modules. We either have the analytics module or the analytics plus marketplace module. So basically, employers can either have like an existing wellness program which they already sponsor and they want to understand the impact. And in that case, we just onboard the providers that they currently have on the platform, and then we do all of the analytics piece. Or if they don't have a well-being program or they want to supplement their well-being program, they want to try it out. We have an independent roster of like wellness providers that we've mostly gathered when we launched the app on the D2C side. We have 100 plus providers, plus many more that, I've spoken to regularly. And what we do is we make them aware of opportunities within the corporate space when we sign clients. Obviously, we say, okay, we just signed, a big client. They have 10,000 employees. They are interested. We have a meeting with HR. We allow them to pre-select categories that they would be interested in. And then all of these providers have, they can be multi-category or single category, depending on the service offering that they have. And then it's employees who directly vote for the wellness providers within the pre-selected categories. So let's say HR says, okay, we really want to invest in, like, for example, financial well-being, nutrition, and mental health. And then we send them like a list of providers we send the employees a list of providers according to those categories, which have made themselves available. They can vote for them. And then the employer decides to sponsor, let's say, for example, 4 group classes, 6 group classes, 8 group classes plus, per month. And employees vote for the ones providers that they want. And we get the votes in, and then the providers that have been, voted the most get selected to deliver those workshops for an entire year, basically. And the way this works is because, we really believe in continuity and in measuring like long-term ROI. So then there's different types of scores that we gather from employees. It's session by session sentiment. It's an engagement. There is metrics when it comes to like session delivery, like how many people attended, how long did they stay logged in for, et cetera, et cetera. There is the personal wellness score that is personal to the employee, and it's a proprietary wellness score is made up of metrics within the physical well-being, mental well-being, and performance and motivation space. And then there's quantitative metrics that we get from the employer, such as, obviously number of sick days, number of resignations, et cetera. We talked about these a little bit before. And we combine all of this data, identify trends using the power of AI, machine learning, creating models that are predictable and allow, tangible and actionable changes. For example, let's say that there's a team that has had an overwhelm score that is 20% higher compared to the rest of the company, and it's been growing steadily, like month on month. Via our models, we can say, okay, this team has had, showcase this behavior, this trend. So it's most likely that they're going to churn up to 2 employees with this type of roles. So you should focus X% of your hiring capacity, into this team. And also you have to understand that you will have to free up the calendars of the team members to interview. It will take X amount of time to properly find the right candidates. And we combine all of these analytics, and the model grows with the company and becomes very tailored and personalized to the company. And the more the program runs, the more the insights become accurate, effective, and really valuable to the company. So obviously it's a long-term investment, but it's a long-term investment that delivers extremely high ROI if done properly. And this is a kind of like a team effort because at the beginning we need collaboration with the company to, do onboarding sessions, promote the program within the companies and the employees, make sure there are rewards, for example, because one thing is session participation can be even good, but then the scoring can be quite bad. So it's really important to tackle kind of like that reward piece. For example, let's say if you complete the scoring for each of the sessions that you participate to, you will get like a complimentary one-on-one session with the wellness provider.
I see. Well said. Again, I really appreciate the detail and your perspective on all the metrics you track, how you engage like different stakeholders again, and then like to a point that you made, which I want to expand more upon, is it sounds like there's a lot of investment, but also that this promises a lot of impact. So in
Yeah.
the long-term future, say like 5-10 years into the future, what are some of the positive impacts that you're seeing in employee health in the industry that show that what WellMatch is doing is working?
Well, so obviously right now we're at the start of our journey, so we need to collect our tangible data, and for that we'll need time. Our interest is to position ourselves as a key opinion leader in the space and really like be the first ones to deliver reports, analytics on an industry level, on a department level. And that's really like our ambition and our vision for the growth of the company. We want to become like experts in future of work when it comes to benefits programs, well-being programs, but even hiring capacity, everything to do with human capital management that is not the classic, payroll and like pension and compliance, trainings. Now, in terms of research out there, there's tons of research that you can read in regards to like the return that each dollar spent for prevention and in well-being and especially well-being programs has in terms of impact for the reduction in healthcare costs. And I think that there's a very interesting partnership there that I would really love to work on is with insurance companies. Because obviously the less claims, the better, then the lower the premiums for the better, the less claims, the less risk for the insurance, and then the lower the premiums for the employer, and the better the employees are, because obviously when you're using your insurance, it means you're already sick and nobody wants to do that. So it's a really like a collaboration that I would see be fruitful and yield some very significant data when it comes to the return on investment of prevention, especially when it comes to healthcare.
I see. Thanks for sharing. Something that you didn't explicitly say, but which really also came to mind was, so it sounds like you're providing a solution that's at a very much lower cost per quality adjusted life
Yeah,
year than others. And also, of course,
correct.
giving people more quality adjusted life years. And on the reverse, decreasing disability adjusted life years, for which insurance sounds like a natural
Correct.
partner. And
Correct.
it's, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying in terms of price point, if we want to just do a direct comparison, like let's say, for example, a Bupa membership for one employee usually is around 148 per month. Our software costs £5 per employee on the highest range.
Mm.
So that's kind of like, the trade-off that you're looking at.
I see. Thanks for providing that specific numerical example. Now, it sounds like you've had a very robust journey in building WellMatch so far with
Thank you.
like developing different partners, developing both the supply side and the demand side of the market. And as you've talked about, like really like developing more like work and going along that very exciting vision. So on that journey, can you share maybe just two or three lessons that you've learned at this point that you wish you had known prior to starting your journey as a founder for WellMatch?
Yeah, that's very good. I think first of all, you have to understand that not every day is the same, and that often your biggest wins come from 10% of your effort and not from, what you do on an everyday basis. They can be random, they're often very much sourced from like opportunistic events. And so for someone like me, I have the kind of approach where I try to do everything, and I feel like I have to tick all the boxes. It's really a matter of exercise of restraint and realigning with what are your business priorities right now as a founder. What is the critical point for your business? What is gonna make sure your business survives another month. And that's kind of like an exercise that for me is very hard because I try to do everything and I think everything is important. But then I really have to take that step back and reprioritize. Second, client is king. So client drives product development. Product market fit is super important. Go to market as quickly as possible. Make mistakes, offer the product for free if you have to for a few months. But remember that the only real feedback is an important feedback and valuable feedback is that from paying clients because they're the ones who are seeing value in your solution and investing, money in your solution. And so they expect a return. And if they're not happy with it, obviously their complaints matter the most. And then the third one, I think, is that support and network is key. Like, especially in the startup ecosystem, it's very tough. It's difficult because, not every day there's no book that tells you how to do it. You never know if you're making the right choice for your business. You will only see in time, and every decision is important, and everything can be a deal, like kind of like a make or break deal. So it's really important to have mentors, to speak to each other, share with founders, help each other, like share resources, even, for example, do introductions. And I'm one who was always want to pick up the phone and to help if I can. And I've learned that to be in the startup world, you really have to love the ecosystem too. And you have to love that like give and take. You have to love, that helping someone grow, even if today it's not getting into your pocket, but it's still you're contributing to the ecosystem. And the more we thrive, as founders, the more jobs we create, the more we drive the economy. And I really believe in that and also, driving innovation in general.
Well said. Thanks so much for your wise words. How can people find you and how can people support your work?
Thank you so much, Narian. Well, first of all, depending on who you are, whether you're, HR manager or just another startup founder or someone who's curious about the industry, I'm always available. DM me on LinkedIn. My email is lavinia@wellmatch.co.uk. And reach out. I answer to everybody, always. That's my prerogative. And secondly, if you're interested in trying, our product trial, we offer 3 months for free on our product, after which it converts to paid if you're happy with it. And we're looking for our first corporate pilot. So again, email me or send me a message on LinkedIn if you would like to learn more. No strings attached. We can book a discovery call. Secondly, we just launched our new website, so go and check it out. And there's a few forms you can fill in there. And we're currently running a couple of surveys that I've posted on LinkedIn. So if you're an HR manager, would really appreciate that because that's really important for our product development and also refining our value proposition.
Cool. Thank you, Lavinia. So yeah, we will be providing like different links such as your LinkedIn and other links in the show notes. So please take a look at those to get in touch. Now it's time for our signature question. Please fill in the blank. I amplify.
Wellness in the workspace.
Again, well said, very concise, very succinct, but also very profound. And I want to thank you so much, Lavinia, for sharing your journey and your insights with us today. It was so amazing to hear more about you, hear more about your vision and the innovative things that you're doing with WellMatch, as well as the impacts that those are enabling for employees and the ecosystem for wellness providers, and the ecosystem in the short, medium, and long term. And I just also want to celebrate you as a fantastic innovator. I know we've had a number of conversations. We've had this conversation. Some things that I really appreciate about you and which you've showcased in this conversation a lot are, I love the intention and mindfulness that you bring into wellness in who you are and also how that translates into the work that you're doing with WellMatch. I find that very, very amazing and inspiring. The other thing that I really appreciate, I say this as someone who has worked in health administration, someone who has worked with a lot of different startup founders and mentored people all around the world. I love how you are able to explain the data and tie it into results in a way that is passionate and also very, very action oriented. I see people, they can get very drawn into the analysis or they can be very drawn into the action, but I love how you talk about both of them and synthesize them in a narrative that's passionate, compelling, and very, very motivating. And I just, again, want to celebrate you for being an incredible inspiration and a motivation to female founders, underrepresented founders, founders who are in wellness, and just being a fantastic founder. So thank you, Lavinia, for being here and for being a guest.
Thank you so much, Narian. First of all, thank you for your kind words. I really believe that mission requires vision, and impact requires data. So well said in terms of like combining the two. Secondly, I would really like to thank you for the amazing support and like the level of not only like support, but also like care and like thoughtfulness you've put in terms of like the relationship we've built and all the advice, you know, you've given and all of the how you followed our journey and you've really been kind of like our first cheerleader and you've really been insightful towards like, okay, like have you thought about how you should grow your business or this could be a good opportunity? And that's like what keeps you going as a founder on like the good. It gives you that extra charge, but especially on the bad days when you feel you have nobody in your court, it's been a huge, huge impact for me. So I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you so much again, Lavinia. And again, I really enjoyed our conversation and I look forward to staying in touch. But for now, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.
Thank you, Narian. Likewise. Have a great day.
To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Founders Amplified. I hope you're feeling as inspired as I am. If you'd like to learn more about our guests and support them, check out the show notes for their details. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating, share it with someone you know, and follow us for more inspiring episodes like this one. If you're a founder who is driving innovation and impact in any industry or sector anywhere in the world and would like to be a guest, we'd love to hear from you. Check out the show notes for more information. And finally, remember that you, yes, you, have the power to amplify the voices around you. Whether you're a colleague, family member, friend, funder, mentor, or just another fellow human, your support matters. So I invite you to celebrate and uplift the underrepresented innovators in your life who are driving innovation and impact. Let's create a better future for everyone, together. Until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep amplifying.